Sometimes the best adventures are found right in our own backyards. We are very fortunate to have the Nashua River Rail Trail running through Groton. Let's look at the history of the river, the rise and fall of the railroads, and the towns along the Nashua River Rail Trail today. The Nashua River's name comes from the Native American word Nashua, meaning river with the pebbled bottom. For hundreds of years, the Nashua tribe inhabited the Nashua Valley. Many years after the arrival of the Pilgrims, the river was a barrier to westward civilization, as native inhabitants fought to retain their way of life along the river. In the mid-1700s, European settlers began to put the river to work with grist mills and sawmills. By the mid-1800s, the Industrial Revolution brought manufacturing to the watershed's rivers. Mill cities like Gardner, Fitchburg, Leominster, and Nashua rose up around the centers of production. More than 8,000 acres of land throughout the watershed and 85 miles of greenway along the riverbank have been permanently conserved. This represents the protection of more than half the watershed's riverbank miles. The Nashua River Rail Trail sits on the former Hollis branch of the Boston and Maine Railroad. With the gradual decline of rail transportation, the line fell into disuse. Passenger service on the line ended in 1934, and the last freight train ran on the line in 1982. The Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation bought the Hollis branch in 1987. The Nashua River Rail Trail, officially dedicated on October 25, 2002, is a 12.5-mile paved mixed-use rail trail. It roughly follows the course of the Nashua River, passing through the towns of Ayer, Groton, Pepperell, and Dunstable, Massachusetts, and ending about a mile across the state border in Nashua, New Hampshire. The trail is frequently used by walkers, bicyclists, inline skaters, and in the winter, cross-country skiers. Let's start in Ayer and work our way north to Nashua. Ayer's history dates back to 1667, when the first mill used to grind corn in the agricultural community was built. Originally part of the town of Groton, Ayer was incorporated in 1871 and named in honor of Dr. James Cook Ayer, a prominent resident of Lowell, who provided the funding for the construction of Town Hall. The town today is a reflection of its history. The town boasts numerous industries, a thriving historical downtown, unique to the region, and modern commuter rail service to Boston. While in Ayer, you can have lunch at an Irish pub or a traditional bakery. You can even get your broken bicycle mended while enjoying ice cream. Groton had its precarious beginnings when John Tinker followed Indian trails from the Bay Area and settled near the mouth of Nod Brook on the Nashua to set up his trading post to do business with the Nashua Indians. In 1655, this trading post evolved into a formal settlement called the Plantation of Groton, which encompassed all of what is now Groton and Ayer, nearly all of Pepperell and Shirley, a large part of Dunstable and Littleton, as well as smaller parts of Harvard, Westford, Nashua, New Hampshire, and Hollis, New Hampshire. It was named in honor of one of the original selectmen, Dean Winthrop, who was born in Groton, Suffolk County, England. During King Philip's War in 1676, Indians burned all but 4 Groton garrison houses. Survivors fled to Concord and other safe havens, but returned 2 years later to rebuild the town. Groton would again be attacked by Indians during Queen Anne's War, when several citizens of the town were abducted to Canada. In 1775, the common in front of the First Parish Church was an assembly area for Minutemen who fought in the Battle of Lexington and Concord. An interesting side trip to the recently acquired Surrendon Farm Conservation Area is available by getting off the Nashua River Rail Trail at Smith Street and heading west for a half a mile. Go through the gate and enjoy views of Wachusett Mountain across the fields. Pepperell began with settlements from Groton on scattered farms and at river crossings on the Nashua and Nissitissit rivers in the 1720s and 1730s. Pepperell became a town in 1775. While the town center began as a religious and governmental center, the eastern portion spread out from paper and shoe factories along the Nashua River, beginning there in the 1830s and reaching the Rotary by about 1900. This development and the building of the Worcester and Nashua Railroad in 1848 led to the expansion of the town in 1857 to include former Groton land to the east of the Nashua River. The shoe industry began with small shops in the 1830s. Then Albert Layton and his sons expanded the size of the industry with 3 shoe factories, each larger than the last. They were built in 1868, 1879, and 1890. Employment in these factories rose from 70 in the first to 700 in the last. Their construction marked the climax of growth until the post-World War II years. Today, on your visit to East Pepperell Center, you can enjoy an ice cream treat, visit an authentic soda fountain, also known as a spa, and watch the Pepperell Covered Bridge being rebuilt. And finally, we come to Nashua. The Nashua River Rail Trail ends just after entering Nashua, New Hampshire. A very scenic side trip from the end of the trail is a 1-mile ride to the rapids on the Nashua River. Turn left at the end of the rail trail and follow Gilson Road. Turn left onto Old Reynolds Bridge Road and left again onto Route 111. Go straight through the lights and across the bridge. There's a parking lot on your right and a trail that leads down to the rapids. For those of you who want to explore the rail line further, a trip to Mine Falls Park in Nashua is a must. It's about 3 miles to the park on Route 111. The park encompasses the canal built to bypass Mine Falls and provide water power to the mills in Nashua. There are numerous trails along the river, and you can bike along the canal right into downtown Nashua. You can have a great lunch at one of the many fine restaurants in Nashua before heading back. Nashua really is more than just a mall.